Hi, my name is Taryn Jordan, and I'm doing a case study on London Donnell with Jose Castillo and Katie Tusham. London Donnell is a 5-year-old female. She's getting ready to start kindergarten. She lives with her dad, Douglas Donnell, and her stepmother, Carly Donnell. Um, they both are employed full time. Um, London has a 7-year-old brother and a um, I'm sorry, she has a 9-year-old brother and a 7-year-old sister. The Donnell family lives in a single family home in a middle class suburban neighborhood. They have lots of neighbors that have kids the ages of London's, her and her siblings. So it gives them a great opportunity to have the social interaction with these kids and just, have a normal childhood playing outside, and the parents all get along and they have block parties and just really have a great time in the neighborhood, which you don't see a lot nowadays. London's biological mother, Laura, was 27 weeks pregnant when she was hit by a drunk driver. Unfortunately, Laura did not make it. She had significant injuries resulting in her death, and then London was born C-section by C-section, and she was 27 weeks premature, which is very, very, early to be born. She weighed 2 pounds at birth, and she was not able to breathe on her own, nor was she able to feed on her own. So she was put on a ventilator for the first several weeks, and also, of course, being on these things, she was in the NICU. So she spent several weeks in the NICU, and she was on a vent for several weeks. And then, about 8 weeks of age, she was taken off the vent and just put on oxygen, um, and just straight oxygen. Not a whole lot, but she did still need that oxygen support to help her with her breathing. Um, after actually, she was off the vent at 4 weeks. It was 4 to 5 weeks she was off the vent and put on the oxygen. So she did very, very well for being so little, and her lungs did great after receiving steroids for the development. She had, of course, intravenous feeds and a feeding tube down her nose, so she could get the nutrients and everything that she needed. She was did start at about 8 weeks. She started bottle feeds, which is great with the sucking and everything. So she did very well with the bottle, but still had the feeding tube down her nose just to make sure she was getting enough nutrients through the bottle. So anyway, she was getting the same formula through both. Um, she did great with both of these. Once she was 4.5 pounds, which was at 11 weeks of age, she was discharged from the hospital, and so she went home when she was actually 38 weeks gestation. Um, so she went home 2 weeks prior to what her original due date was. So she did very, very well as far as developing and everything she should have been doing while in the NICU. Um, Being premature in the NICU will not affect London, her cognitive or her social emotional aspect in her first 3 years. Biologically, she will be small for her age because of her being born so early. She developed normally the first 3 years of her life. Just certain milestones were a little delayed just because of her gestation age. If she would have been born at her birth, at her due date, or even at 38 weeks when she went home, she still would have been on target for that gestational age. So she did very well with her walking, sitting, pulling up, crawling, all these things. Like I said, she did them. They might have just been a month or two later than what her peers her age would have done them. So anyway, those things did not really affect her. By the time she was 3, she had caught up as far as all her development, small motor skills, all those things were good. at the age of 3, her peers did start noticing that she was a little small, and so she started questioning her parents about her size. And so, of course, that kind of brought up, as in simple terms as possible, that she was born at a very early age and that her, mother passed, and that's why she was born that young. Um, she really, the things that could affect her cognitively and social emotionally, she could withdraw from her friends if being made fun of for her size. She could happen to have a slight learning disability, which may be seen through the progress in kindergarten. So, anyway, she's now 5 years old and she's getting ready to start kindergarten. She will attend a public full day kindergarten after attending a half day preschool program this past year. So she's ready for kindergarten. She's happy and developing normally, and on track for her age. As she gets older and is and understands what happened with her mother, she may have many questions and emotions. But with good family support and some counseling, London should continue on a path of normality. She's looks good now, and you wouldn't ever know that she was premature except for her size. Thank you.
Hello, I am Jose Castillo, partnered with Katie and Taryn. I will be covering the second portion of the progress report. London Dental is a white 23-year-old female at this point, getting ready to finish her sophomore year in college. London still lives with her father and stepmother, who are still both employed full-time. While living off of her financial aid, she will be continuing college the following semester. London's brother is 27 years old and has moved out with his fiancée and has a nice job after finishing his associate's degree at a community college. Her sister, who still lives at home, is now 25 and has recently graduated with a bachelor's in science and sits on so many opportunities being thrown in her direction. The Dental family still live in the middle-class suburban home, and as time has passed by, the home has begun to show evidence of wear. London's stepmother stepped right in, taking the title of mom. She treated London as if she was her biological child. She gave the love and care that her biological mother would have given her. London has always called Carly Dental mom. While London found out about her mother's death in her early elementary school years, she had periods of sadness over the years caused by slight depression. London's parents assigned counseling for her at the time she was told about her mother's death. The counseling followed every week until she graduated high school. London developed exercise-induced asthma when starting sports in her teen years. This could be due to her underdeveloped lungs at birth. She is limited when it comes to physical activity. On a scale, her average class in high school would easily average a mile run in 10 minutes, while London, having a problem that limited the activity of her breathing, timed in at 20 minutes. Her peers were never harsh to her, but she would always feel inadequate in comparison to the kids around her. She was also required to use an inhaler, causing some embarrassment at her sporting events. After she graduated high school, London decided to work full-time instead of going straight to college. She felt determined in disproving what her past had brought her up to be. She began working her first 3 years for her income, requiring constant use of physical activity in lifting, standing, walking, all while being quick. After 3 years, she resigned. London Dental quit her job after realizing that she couldn't live comfortably under her current conditions, seeing her brother and sister showing success in college, while she regularly made an income with no academic progression. She pursued the same road. She has always focused more efficiently on academic work. London graduated summa cum laude from her high school. London has formed some slight depression from the constant experiences of feeling inadequate when compared to the peers of her high school along with her brother and sister over time. London has struggled in figuring out what she should major in, because she has no idea what she wanted to do as a career. After speaking to her counselors on the matter, they suggested she should go into marine biology, since she was always fascinated with life in the ocean and loves to examine sea life in their natural habitat. London is now 25, graduating with her bachelor's in marine biology. She has had the support of her family and newly introduced significant other who she has fallen for. She will now begin an internship near the coast consisting of examining the habitat and wildlife in the ocean. But she is also unsure on whether or not to buy a home that's closer to the coast or to stay around her home town and work in an aquarium in the big city. With proper guidance and weighing all options, she will eventually have her dream career along with her dream life.
London decides not to stray too far from her comfort zone and to stay close to her parents and study for a couple of years. And while she was there, her father unfortunately passed away suddenly, which brought back a lot of bad childhood memories for her of when she found out about her own mother's tragic death. So after this happened, she sought out counseling because she really wanted to stay positive about her future and her career and doing something that she loved. So when she was 28 years old, she moved to California to work on the coast and began researching life in the deep sea. While she was here, she met Alexander Levington. And this was the man of her dreams. They started dating for a couple years, and after 2 years they got engaged. Well, after they got engaged, about a month before their wedding, they found out that they were expecting. So they were very excited, and about 8 months after her wedding, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, which she named Douglas Dennell Levington after her father. And about 5 years later, she gave birth to a baby girl, which she named Ireland Levington. London was a very good mother. She was very devoted. She was always there for her kids, made sure they always had the best. They went to private schools. They were involved in the extracurricular activities. But like any other mother with a full-time job, London was stressed to the max. She was always running around trying to make sure everybody had anything, but Alex was a great husband and was very involved in their children's lives and was helpful. And after 18 years, all this hard work paid off because they went to college, and her son got his doctorate, and her daughter got her PhD in psychology. After a few years, London and her husband moved out of their home where they had raised their children, where they had lived for all these years, which is very hard, and they moved into an assisted living community. Alex, London's husband, had suffered a stroke a year prior to this, and London was struggling to take care of him and maintain her social life and to stay happy, so they decided to move. This move gave London a lot of relief because she knew that she would have help taking care of her husband, and it also freed her up to make new friends and do a lot of activities which she knew she needed to get exposed to in order to keep from getting depressed because she had struggled with depression before. At the age of 70, London fell in the shower and broke her hip. She had to have surgery, and several months later, she was sent to a nursing home to get some rehabilitation, but she was sent away from her husband. Obviously, he couldn't go with her. This was sad and lonely time for London, but she was relieved to know that there were people at the assisted living community that were taking care of him and making sure that he had everything that he needed. After being in rehab for 3 weeks, London became very sick and was diagnosed with pneumonia, which is common in nursing homes and hospitals and stuff like that. That led into sepsis, which means that she had bacteria in her blood, and you do not want bacteria in your blood. Her prognosis was not very good. She had always struggled with breathing problems since her childhood, and her lungs and body were weak from the pneumonia and the sepsis. At the age of 70, London passed away, unfortunately, but she lived a very productive life and raised a beautiful and successful family. London had several obstacles in her life, which she was able to overcome and provide to herself, and was capable of more than she ever gave herself credit for. She was a very strong woman.